'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house no one was stirring, not even a mouse. Welcome back to Merrymas, or No More Miserymas, whatever you want to call it. I think I did call it No More Miserymas, didn't I? So I should probably stick to that. Welcome. This is the 23rd video. This is Christmas Eve, and you either might be feeling tingly and lovely and wholesome and ready for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and Boxing Day, or you might be feeling a whirlpool of dread, an existential pressure to feel incredibly happy when in fact you feel either just relatively normal and that's disappointing in itself and therefore you feel a bit sad, or for whatever reason you're feeling the opposite, and that is totally okay. This is your permission slip, your little pep talk to say however you're feeling is not only valid but probably incredibly logical and understandable, and that there's nothing weird about that. I also wanted to just chat a little bit about how I have started thinking about resources, not only in terms of the planet, in terms of the economy, but also just Lena's indoor resources. What's going on in here? What's left? I have said several times during October, November and December of this year that even though I've been like relatively happy and exciting things have happened, I've just felt like every day is a Friday. Like every day feels like the end of a really long week, and you're not allowed to like quite switch off yet, but like you're working, like you're at half mast. you're kind of working at 50% capacity when the demand is coming through for 110%. And I think maybe, you know, that's because of the circumstances of the last 2 years, but also, you know, generally adulting. What a bloody exhausting time, and especially if in your country it's like quite dark right now as it is in mine. Like there's not that much daylight, and when there is daylight it's sometimes not cheerful daylight, it's diffused daylight, it's grumpy daylight. It can just feel like really exhausting, and you don't have as many pens in your pot as you'd like to, as many sandwiches in your picnic what's going on, as many screwdrivers in your shed as people might expect you to. I was watching this YouTuber I just found. I'm going to leave the link to the video below, but she was talking about how she has and had like a big problem with people pleasing. And I was the same. I often felt like something that I'm really lucky with is that I do find it quite easy to make friends. Easy, you know, obviously you don't automatically connect and feel comfortable around everybody, but I feel like it's easy for me to start that journey with somebody. I wouldn't even say it's something that is a talent or something that's really good about me inherently. It just happens to be something that I find easier than a lot of people, and I feel really lucky for that. It's not something that I've worked for. It's not really something I can give out loads of advice on. It's just I'm bad at a lot of things. But that anyway, the point is I have often felt like in my 20s that like I am not there for people enough. Like the people that I have connected with, whether that's for a night or well, that sounds racy, but you know what I mean. You're at a party, you make a party friend, or like people that I've known for a long time, but maybe we like our paths don't cross as naturally anymore. God knows during the pandemic, paths crossing was not a thing, so everything felt like a bigger deal. But just generally, I don't feel like I'm as there for people as I should be, or as present. And like sometimes, even though I'm like really confident and I have a lot going on, sometimes I just feel like I need to just disconnect. And the problem with disconnecting from your phone is that your friends are at the other end of the phone and they're like important to you. You don't want to disconnect from them, but the medium through which you're communicating, which is a lot of the time a phone, or especially like maybe a social media platform, like you need to walk away from that, and that can often feel like you're walking away from actual people. And in the same way that when there's like hate online and people send you hate, like it's usually not stuff that they would say to your face, or if they met you they wouldn't put it like that. They might even not say it. They might even not end up thinking it about you. There is like this element of, if somebody was in front of me, I obviously wouldn't walk away from them. But when it's just like some pixels on a screen that form the shape of a message, it doesn't feel the same. The stakes don't feel as high. And then it's also just like easier to send somebody a message than it is to like physically go and see them. So people can quite casually send a message, and then you feel this big like weight to reply straight away, or like reciprocate with like an invitation to go out or do something, and you just don't have the capacity for that. So anyway, all of that to say, I feel like I spent a lot of my 20s just going to everything I was invited to, trying to be there for literally everybody and be present in their lives. And now I realise that was, in some ways it's slightly narcissistic to think that everybody is waiting for your reply and everybody needs your specific presence in their life, because a lot of the people that I'm bad at responding to sometimes, I know that they care about me and they know that I don't mean harm if I don't reply within a day. And I also know in my logical brain that they have other people around them, they have other concerns, their lives are bigger than me and my reply. And I watched this great Hank Green video where he talked about the scope of care and how we as an individual cannot care about everything. It's not possible. And in fact, it's a little bit pig-headed and a little bit weird to think that we could. And the idea that you have to constantly be there for everybody and be serving other people and be present for every moment and every party and everything is just an unreachable goal. But also it might be a signal that you don't trust anyone else. So when there's a friend that I know but not very well, that I know isn't doing very well, I have this pressure in my head to check up on them all the time, even though I'm not in their immediate close friendship group. I'm not their family, because for some reason, even though I don't know these people, I don't trust. It must be that I don't trust those people to be there for that person, or I think that my care is superior to anybody else's care, and therefore I must contact them and check up on them, and their well-being is on my head, even if they're not my immediate. It's kind of like when you think in an office, it's my direct report, or I'm not their direct report. It's sometimes a realization that you should trust other people more, that the burden isn't just on you to be there for people and to turn up for people, is really interesting. And it also made me think about just generally having to report to people. I think when I analyse my need to people please, which is particularly poignant around this festive time, when you feel like you need to turn up to everything, send everyone a card, be present, be visible, is that I was trying to create a report card that I could show to anyone in my life to show that I was really busy and I wasn't just lazy, and it wasn't that I didn't care about them or I didn't like them. I felt like I was secretly trying to write an evidence sheet, so if they ever pulled me up on it, I could prove to them that I wasn't a bad person and that I was in fact quite busy and that my life was really full, and feeling like I had to be present and visible and visibly doing stuff all the time. And I think that is again to do with Instagram and social media, is that not only that I think we're, I think sometimes people report that it's vapid and people always want to report about the good things they're doing, but I think it's also just wanting to be visible, wanting to be visibly active, even if you are really busy but it doesn't look like much. A lot of my work is just sitting on my laptop, and that doesn't look visually very busy, right? But it really is, especially when I'm writing. That stuff that's just constantly going on in my head, and while I might be not busy, I might be just washing up or something, or doing something that other people might see as meaningless. There is a lot of internal work going on, and I feel like I'm never really off. So sometimes you can be tired especially if you're a student and you've been studying. People don't really think that should be tiring. Your brain's working at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and especially during exam periods and stuff, I think you kind of have to treat your mind like you would your body. If you've just ran a 10k marathon and then somebody asks you to come out the next day, you'd be no, because the day before I'm running a marathon, and they'd get that. But if you were the day before I had an exam, they wouldn't, they might be well, you can come out because you'll be free. So again, I think that's a different way we treat the mental and physical strain, and then how we recover from that. But then I've also realized that it's not possible for me to explain what I'm doing with the rest of my time. And if people demand stuff of you, you don't have to show them all the receipts. You don't have to come up with a progress report on all the progress and productivity stuff you've done, because it kind of makes me, in a really dark way, think of that prison architecture where you just have to have one prison guard, and then all of the cells face the prison guard, so the prison guard can see everybody in a circle, but none of the prisoners can see each other. And sometimes I think about my life that way, how dark that is that I'm the only person keeping myself captive, well, apart from this fucked up systemic capitalism that keeps us all captive, but that's not Christmassy. Generally, I'm the only person that's keeping me captive when it comes to feeling this emotional demand on my time. But I'm also the only person that can see what is in every segment of my life. I'm the only person sitting in the middle of it who can truly see like what my resources are, what I can do, what I can't do. I'm never going to really be able to explain that to anybody else. So I can try, but I also need to trust that they trust me, that I know I'm managing, I'm doing a project management on my emotions and my life. And I know how many magic beans I have to spend and whether I can afford that cow or not. And they don't, and that's fine. So all of that to say, I wrote a poem a while ago, but it ended up being about this, vaguely. It's also a Christmas themed poem, and it's also going to appear in my collection of poetry that's coming out next year. If you don't know about that, it's called Bargain Bin Rom-Com, and I'll leave links if you are curious and poetry inclined. But you can have this one for free. There you go. Merry Christmas. This poem is called Silent Night. You do not have to give everything. You can keep a sock for yourself. Pin it to the mantelpiece, fill it with everything you've missed. Baths and books and blood-red confessions of how you really felt this year. The secret sweet wrappers and swear words, the times you pretended to answer the question you hadn't heard, the nails you stepped on and the messages you didn't get round to. You do not have to leave milk for a man who only visits when it suits, or carrots for his friends. Keep the cookies and light the fire. Let it lock your house. Feel the silence as a wealth. Keep a bit of merriness for yourself. That image came to me when I thought about how Father Christmas is supposed to come down your chimney, as it were. And why should you have to feed him if he doesn't even say hi? Might not leave you anything good. And that also, like, he's an intrusive man in your house. That's weird. And he's bringing his friends, so you've got to leave carrots for them. And then also just the idea of lighting the fire in your chimney, so that and that's a way of locking your house. And that's a cozy way. Like, fires are like often life-giving. You can toast marshmallows on them. They're warm. They're a source of comfort. They're a way that they're a symbol for a way that you take care of yourself. A very base Neanderthalic way, like, of humans caring for themselves is to light a fire. But in the context of Christmas, that can also lock the weird man out of your house that's asking for cookies to be left so that he can leave you presents that you didn't ask for nor probably need. So with that analogy in your pocket, I hope that you keep a bit of merriness for yourself and remember that the spirit of Christmas, if there is one, is glee and gumption and a little bit of self-preservation, however that looks to you. And I hope that even if you can't make your Christmas merry, you can at least make it a little bit calm. Thank you so much for watching this video. I also have a quick announcement that we are going to be having a Christmas quiz here tomorrow. And if you would like to join in live, it's going to be at midday and it's going to be really fun. You can join in the live chat, but it'll also be there literally forever. So you can join in at any time, but that's going to be going on if you fancy pulling up a chair, pulling up a hot chocolate and taking part in the virtual pub quiz. There's more videos in the No More Misery Must series right here. You can click on those and don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to find yourself here again. Pep talks aplenty. Frogs Nog out.